I made a game in an hour, and I'm going to show you how I did it. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm SD Cash, I make games, and all things related. As a solo developer, I'm constantly trying to challenge myself and learn new skills. One way to do this as a developer is through game jams. A game jam is an event where participants create video games within a short time frame. It's focused on rapid development, creativity, and usually follows a specific theme announced at the start. I participate in a weekly game jam called the Hyper 1 Hour Game Jam, hosted by Hyper Game Dev. I'll insert a link in the description. Which leads us to where we are. Last week's theme was Distorted Reality. Here are the additional rules, tools, and restrictions I include. I usually make the music the day of. We'll go over that a little bit more later. I only use pre-made art that I made myself. I use a very simple template to save time building the menu. Let's go over the template. I made a simple template so the entire hour wasn't spent programming the menu. The template included 3 scenes, a start scene, a main scene, and an end scene. The main and end scene are both blank. The start scene has 2 buttons in it. Both buttons have the shake object behavior. On the event sheet, I only have a few events to handle the button shaking and the menu navigation. I create a player name input object and create a variable to store its value. I also create a variable to store whatever score we use later. The event sheet, I set the variable to change when the input object is focused. I then use those variables to create an action to eventually send the player score to a leaderboard. I typed the end and we had a template. Back to the theme. Distorted reality. How can I make this into a game in 1 hour? Something has to be backwards, something needs to be hidden. Let's get to distorting reality then. My initial idea was to make a game that alternated between top-down and platform levels, but I had to implement some scope control. I figured to pull it off I would need at least 6 levels, 3 top-down and 3 platform levels. I could make them, but I would not have time to properly test them. Next idea. I decided to go with a platform with the floor and ceiling screen wrapped, as well as the walls. I figured I could make this in the time limit and come up with another mechanic as well while I went. I started by creating a simple cube guy. I then created a tiled sprite and made bricks to use as platforms. I started playing around and created a simple level to start testing things out. I then set up a screen wrap condition so when he fell through the floor, he wrapped around to the top of the screen. When he left the screen on the left side, you showed up on the right side, and vice versa. Next, I made another character, this time a simple circle guy. Then I came up with the objective. There will be a hidden object you need to find somewhere in the level. Once you find the hidden object, you will change to the next character and the hidden object will change locations. Do this for all 3 characters, you win the game. Simple enough. I created the first 2 target objects and placed them in the scene. I made them invisible to confuse the player. I then created an object to use as a spawn location and added that to the scene. In the event sheet, I set up the events to spawn each of the characters. I created a plain text object that said "You win" to display at the end. Then I created a scene timer to use for the player's score. The faster you beat the game, the better. Time for a quick playtest and some minor tweaks. Text background using a basic tile sprite. I created a group for my character objects, then created the final character, a one-eyed triangle. I made the final target object and set up the events to handle my additions. I created an object to display the time. I added it to the scene and made a few more adjustments to all of the UI elements. I also cleaned up my event sheet and included the character group I had made earlier. I spent some time messing around with the particle effect, but it never made it into the game. Then I set up an event play a song at the beginning of the scene if no song is already playing. I'm becoming extremely thankful for the template at this point. I add a button to the end scene to bring us back to the main menu. A little more testing and now it's time to finish the main menu. For the title, I decided on Up is Down. I repeated the parallax background from earlier and added a text object with the title to the scene. I also repeated the parallax background for the end scene. I decided the title text should be upside down. I did a full play test and everything worked as intended. On to the music. I use Beepox to create original music for all of my games. I won't get into the specifics of how I made this song in this video, but I have a full playlist dedicated to making game music I linked. I update this with new videos weekly. You should check it out. Altogether, this game was a success. I finished on time, didn't have any bugs, and I had a really great time. At the end of the jam, the host, Hyper Game Dev, played it live. I'll include a link to that as well. All of the tools I use for this jam include Gdevelop for the game engine, Beatbox for the music, Adobe Express for the thumbnail, and I uploaded the game on itch to submit it to the jam. If you've made it this far, leave a comment and let me know, and thank you a lot. A huge thank you to Hyper Game Dev for hosting this fun challenge. I encourage you to check her out. On a closing note, I hope to see you here again, and if you like games, why not try making them?